Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. And today's program, I'd say you find exceptional guests out there. This one and today's program is going to be certainly interesting from the standpoint of not only some challenging times in our history, some things you may not have known about the western part of Kansas and what has taken place during some very challenging time, but a guy that's gone out there, Matthew Fulkerson, and he's bought a missile silo base just north of Wilson, Kansas. I heard him speak the other night at the library, and we're just interested in his progress and what he has done. So, Matthew, welcome to our program.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you reaching out and including me in your show.
Well, you know what this is, what's interesting is when this missile silo was made, you talk about challenging times. There was a nuclear or an atomic warhead, actually, to be precise, in your missile silo that now you're trying to convert to some other things. But before we talk about your conversion, what exactly is there and where is it from Wilson?
Yeah, so this was a top secret military facility built by the Army Corps of Engineers for the Air Force. So currently, of course, the missile was removed back in the 60s. It was our first ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, that we developed. This was all kind of a response to Sputnik going up in the 50s. We recognized if the Soviet Union had the rocket technology to send a spy satellite into space, they could send over nukes. So very rapidly, we started developing our own missile defense systems to show to an aggressive nation that we could protect our own nation. And so the Atlas, it was an ICBM that could fly over 5,000 miles, pretty much hit any target in the Northern Hemisphere. And this carried a thermonuclear warhead that was over 300 times more powerful than what we dropped on Japan in World War II. So this was a weapon of mass destruction. Really, the officers on duty known as missileers, they were told this is not a first strike option. We'll only be launching this in the event that we're being attacked. And so this was built more to be a deterrent to nuclear war than anything else. The concept was if you launch on us, we launch on you, nobody wins. Mutually assured destruction. It's a path we didn't want to go down. And in fact, one of the Air Force generals said if we ever had to launch these, they didn't do their job. So the Atlas program, it was operational during the height of the Cold War. You had the Cuban Missile Crisis going on. The JFK assassination happened. This was operational from 61 until 65. And these guys were on high alert. They thought at any moment we may be going to war. Fortunately, it was never used that way. Instead, when they decommissioned this program, there was a technology transfer between the Air Force and NASA for a great space race with the Russians. And the Atlas, they took off the warhead and put on a space capsule and sent some of our first astronauts into orbit around our planet on top of an ICBM. We also sent up our own spy satellites, global communication networks, and I even did research. I found the tail number to the rocket stored right here in Kansas. At my base. It was taken down to Florida and used by NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, to send up a weather satellite.
Well, that's such a cool story because you see the history, and I'm not sure how many people know that this was just north of Wilson, but there are other locations across Kansas as well that these were buried, and it's a huge facility built underground, a lot of concrete around it, a lot of part of that. So you took this facility, you know the history, which is pretty amazing to know that there was that type of warhead just outside of Wilson, Kansas, that was sitting there going, wow, what could possibly go wrong there? How that transpose, and again, crazy times in our world, but it was a deterrent because we didn't have to use it. And end result is those became available for people and individuals like yourself to purchase. Why did you want to purchase a missile silo?
Well, I grew up here in Kansas, just west of Topeka. And when I was about 10 years old, I found my first missile base. I was hiking through the Flint Hills, and all of a sudden I came across this paved road in the middle of nowhere, high security chain link fence, barbed wire on top. The place looked abandoned, the gate was open, and I followed the road and it went underground into a bunker. Now, what I didn't realize was this was an Atlas E missile base. So the missile would have been backed in and stored horizontally. A 400-ton door above it would move to the side. A crane would erect it, and then it would launch off. Now, this was a slow system, and it was only one level underground, so it was considered just a semi-hardened bunker. And which is why they shifted over to the Atlas F, which is what I own. It's a vertical silo that goes down 176 feet deep, and an elevator would lift the rocket to the surface, and then it would launch. So you had 9 Atlas E's around Topeka, you had 12 Atlas F's around Salina, and then the next generation of rocket, the Titan and Titan II, you had 18 Titan IIs around Wichita. The Titan, you just had a door that slid to the side. The rocket could be hot launched from in the silo. So it was a faster, safer operating system. But Kansas was kind of missile base central. And, the next day I came out back over to that missile base with a flashlight ready to explore. And I met the owner. He was a retired school teacher who had bought that Atlas E missile base and cleaned out over 1 million gallons of water, cleaned out all the junk and debris, and was in the process of turning it into his own home. He's been featured on National Geographic, Home and Garden Network, even Oprah. And people kept asking, how can I own a missile base too? So he started a small company called 20th Century Castles. He saw these as like the modern day equivalent of the castles of old, right? Built by the government as a fortified structure. And so when I was about 30, I came back to Kansas, and I was working with my father doing custom woodworking. And I started working with Ed Payton, consulting in the acquisition and sales of decommissioned missile bases, communication bunkers, and other DoD underground facilities across the nation. So that's what got me into the whole world of missile bases.
Well, I know I'm probably lucky I wasn't with you as a kid going into that bunker and exploring, because just the history. If you show up at your site and can visit, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But show up there, there's a whole detail of how the site is fixed up, and the whole history behind that. It's really unique what they did and build in really a short amount of time. To be able to do that, because they got in there, they got it built, they got it done, and now you're trying to make it into something that is usable. One of the things that you have talked about when I heard you do that is kind of your future plans, because you've been featured on some national programs as well as to what
Uh-huh.
you're trying to do. What's your next step, and where are you in the process right now?
So yeah, the history of this place, they started construction in 59, finished in 61. It was operational from 61 until 65 and then obsolete. And then in 66, they salvaged out the place, gutted it completely. And so it sat for over 50 years before I came across it. And originally, I was just going to take some photographs, video, try and market it online. And then I fell in love with the site. You have these fantastic views of the Post Rock Wind Farm. The city of Wilson is known for its rich Czech heritage. They've got the world's largest hand painted Czech egg from all and then the Lake Wilson is one of the largest, cleanest lakes in the state. It's a great recreation area. And with this being so close to I-70, I thought this is a hidden gem for tourism. My background is in international business, hotel, and restaurant management. So I've managed a hostel in Europe, a lodge in the Ozarks, a ski lodge in Oregon, but now having my own place here, it's really where it's at. So I've opened this up as a venture campground. I allow for people to bring their RVs or van life or tent or hammock and stay here on the property. I have 24 acres of land. And then I do historical tours every day. It's about a 1 hour tour where I talk about the history of the place, and I take you into the bunker that I'm developing out. And I'm just funneling money from camping and tours right back into the project. So kind of a one-man wrecking crew. From time to time, I get help from friends or families or local or guests. But basically, I'm just down there every day working and trying to develop this out. And so I've finished the top floor as an Airbnb where guests can now stay underground. And I'm working on the lower level, and I'm developing this out into an educational center for space habitat studies.
Wow, that just gives you a whole new demo day. Turns into demo year and maybe a demo decade of getting all of this cleaned out because this is no small feat to do, Matthew. And so it's amazing. I want to find out how people can connect with you, get out and take a visit and do that sort of thing, especially if they're driving down up and down I-70. I'm going to take a quick break and be back with more. Thanks for
Okay.
joining us here on Forward Ever. We'll be back in a minute.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever, leading in challenging times. And we're talking about something really fun, really unique, really exceptional. A facility that's just north of Wilson, Kansas. Our guest is Matthew Fulkinson. And Matthew, it's just amazing. You have received some fun, I'll say not fun money, significant money from Airbnb just because you won an award for doing that and allowed you to do some things. But your project of rebuilding an intercontinental ballistic missile site is not a cheap project.
Yeah, it's been quite a process. I didn't have the funds to purchase this property originally, and so I got an investor involved. He was the same age as me. His name was Matthew also. He flew in from Chicago and saw my vision and gave me the startup capital to get going, but tragically, he died a year later. And so for several years, I just sat on the project. I really didn't know how to move forward without any funding. And then finally, I came to this realization. Nothing is going to happen unless you come out and start working. So on the weekends and my free time, I would drive over 2 hours from Topeka, would throw a hammock up in the tree and just start gutting out the property, the bunker, and cleaning the property, making it feel more park-like. And when I felt like it was safe enough to give tours, that's when I opened this up as a campground. But yes, since then, I have received a grant from Airbnb. Airbnb had the OMG fund. Like, oh my God, what is this? So they were wanting to, it was a $10 million fund where they wanted to create 100 new destinations where people can stay around the globe. And out of thousands of hosts who applied and gave cool, quirky ideas, only 100 people were selected, and I was one of those few. So I've really been blessed along this journey. I received $100,000 from them. Now I booked that top floor exclusively through Airbnb. And but other companies have started to catch a hold of that and believe in me as well. So Benjamin Moore sponsored me with 100 gallons of paint, give the place a whole fresh new look. And even just this year, the Kansas Department of Tourism granted me $80,000 through their attraction development grant. And so, I'm trying to turn this into a destination here in Kansas, and I'm attracting people from all over the globe. It's really exciting.
Have you had some interesting people show up?
I have. I've had people from all over the United States, as well as Australia, England, Germany, Russia, China. So Argentina, I've had people from all over. And then I've also met with people who originally worked here as well. One was an electrician. Anytime a maintenance issue would be called in, it may just be an electrical issue. So he would have to fly out as well, test things and make sure everything worked properly. Another guy was, when they were doing construction here, he lied about his age. He was only 17 years old, but to get in the union, you had to be 19. And so, but he helped dig the hole, he helped pour the concrete. And even when the place was operational, he was old enough then where he got his top secret clearance, was the cleaner who would come in and wax and mop the floors. So it's fun hearing stories.
What an amazing story. So let's talk nuts and bolts here. Are you open yet at your Airbnb?
Yeah, I've been open this year. I've had about 40 guests stay so far. I'm getting 5-star ratings from just about everyone. So it's pretty exciting.
What do you get when you decide to stay there?
So you have access to the entire top floor. There's a king bedroom. Uh, there's another bedroom with bunk beds. So if you have friends or family that want to join, you can sleep up to 4 people on beds. If you have a larger group, I do allow that. I just don't have beds for everyone, so you could bring your own air mattress. Like I had a hunting group, a bunch of fathers and their sons come and stay, and everyone was laying all over the floor with all their gear and such. It was fun to see. And but no, there's a kitchen, there's a living room, big screen TVs, bathroom. It's really nice.
And so is this a gift idea for Christmas coming up? I mean, what kind of options do people have, and who stays there?
Yeah, what's interesting is I found that the majority of my guests who are booking are actually women who are booking it for their husbands or their boyfriends as a gift. Maybe it's their birthday, or maybe they know that their husband has always been into like the space programs and NASA and such, and they just think it would be an awesome gift for them. And so I've had a variety of guests come from all over who just want that unique experience, right?
Boy, I love it because yes, this is one of those things that you can be involved, but you don't have to bring a shovel. You may use somebody if they bring a shovel or a sledgehammer, but you don't have to do that. You can still get the same experience, be able to take a look at that, be able to look at the project that you've done, building the structure that you're living in out there. How cool that is. It's just that I give you credit for jumping into a place that had a lot of potential. Many people do that. But in this particular case, you saw the potential and now are kind of doing it scoop by scoop, mop by mop, paintbrush by paintbrush, kind of fixing this into something that is actually really cool and really has some unique history in this part of Kansas. You have a website. Somebody wants to learn more instead of you and I talking about this and doing that. Where do they go to find out more? Where do they go to book reservations?
Yeah, so my website and name of my business is atlasadastra.com. So Atlas was the name of the missile that was stored here. And you may know that Ad Astra is Latin for to the stars. It's part of our state motto here in Kansas, which actually is Ad Astra per aspera, to the stars through difficulties. But Atlas Ad Astra is the website. And you can learn more about booking tours or camping or staying underground in the Airbnb. And I also have a GoFundMe going on right now where every dollar that is donated, you get 2 entries to win a 2-night all-inclusive stay in the Airbnb. I'll be doing that drawing at the end of the year. So $50 gives you 100 chances to win.
Wow, that sounds fun. It sounds interesting, and I haven't had a chance. Didn't even know about this going on when you spoke the other night at the library, and want to take a chance to come by and see you as well, and take a look around at your creativeness of making this happen. Matthew, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, and I look forward to connecting with people locally. Most of my guests aren't from Kansas, they're just passing through on I-70. So, if you're wanting to do a staycation, keep it close. I look forward to meeting more people from local areas.
Well, thanks for joining us. I hope people go to the website, take a look at that, and then drop by either for an afternoon or just take a look around or plan a stay and book in that overnight bunker at an ICBM missile. How many chances in life do you get to do something cool like that? Sounds like fun, and sounds like you do a great job of taking care of everybody, Matt.
Yeah, most missile base owners keep their places very private. And so I'm one of only a few who have opened it up for people to come and experience. And I have gotten concerns in the past. People say, oh, will I be claustrophobic underground? But I do some psychological tricks for the mind with curtains and false windows. It gives you that illusion that you're not in a bunker. And so it really, with tall ceiling heights, there isn't much claustrophobia that's down there, actually.
Well, it sounds like fun just to know the history and be able to take a look around and see that. Matt, thanks for joining us. Thanks to you for listening into our program today on Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Our guest has been Matthew Fulkerson, and he is part of the owners of a ICBM missile site just north of Wilson, Kansas. Hope you can check out their website. It's atlasadastra.com. Thanks again for listening. The program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, where you can live with confidence. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.